Economists started the year worrying about a looming global recession, and even as CEOs pressed for employees to return to the office, companies like McDonald's, Amazon, and Goldman Sachs announced layoffs by the thousands. Burnout and fatigue plagued workers. In January, 7,000 New York City nurses walked out of the job, demanding better working conditions. This amidst a labor shortage. And Fed Chairman Jerome Powell grappled with bringing down the cost of inflation without tipping the economy into a recession.
He, in March, went to appear before the Senate Banking Committee, and he got really grilled by some lawmakers, particularly Senator Elizabeth Warren, who was pushing him on interest rates because of their potential impact on people's employment and how it could put people out of work.
If you continue raising interest rates as you plan, unemployment will be 4.6% by the end of the year, about 2 million people who would lose their jobs.
But I will say one of the surprises as the Fed has hiked interest rates to try to cool off this very hot post-COVID economy is that they have managed to keep very low unemployment. It was 3.9% in October, while also starting to steadily cut the number of job openings that are coming up each month. Economists were debating whether the economy was going to basically crash out into a recession, if it was going to there was going to be a lot more growing pains and have a hard landing before things are going to get better. But there was another option that back in January did not look feasible, which was a soft landing, which is that we were going to bring down some of those high prices without triggering a recession.
Heightened geopolitical tensions injected unknown risk and volatility into the economy. U.S. officials shot down a Chinese spy balloon.
They shot it!
That had flown over the U.S., prompting new economic restrictions against Chinese companies.
The presence of this surveillance balloon in U.S. airspace is a clear violation of U.S. sovereignty and international law.
Domestically, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned that the U.S. had hit the debt ceiling and was at risk of defaulting on its debt for the first time in U.S. history, setting up a massive fight on Capitol Hill.
House Republicans' approach to the debt ceiling is dangerous. Even brinksmanship over the debt ceiling can cause serious damage to the economy and to individual American families.
Hardline conservatives wanted then Speaker Kevin McCarthy to raise the debt ceiling in addition to cutting government funding, politicizing a process that for decades had remained nonpartisan.
On January 19th, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen lets then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Congress know that the U.S. has hit the debt ceiling and that they've taken extraordinary measures to pay down the nation's existing debts, but that they're setting up this big battle on Capitol Hill on whether to raise the debt ceiling limit or to basically put the nation in default, which would be catastrophic.
At the end of the day, Congress simply has to act to raise the debt ceiling.
Finally, at the end of May, President Biden was able to sign legislation to raise the debt ceiling as markets breathed a collective sigh of relief. This even as Republicans blame Bidenomics for the continued cost of high inflation and soaring gas prices.
As June gets closer, there's not a lot of movement. Biden and McCarthy do end up striking this last-minute deal to avert what could be a catastrophic default and the first ever default on the nation's debt.
Just spoke with Speaker McCarthy, and we've reached a bipartisan budget agreement that we're ready to move to the full Congress.
And even though they've managed to avoid that debt ceiling breakdown, there were still consequences for the brinkmanship that some of our political divisions have brought us.
By the summer, the economy found strength in pop culture icons. Barbie versus Oppenheimer at the box office, and Beyoncé and Taylor Swift's record-breaking tour sales. The Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, get this, they calculated that Swift's Eras Tour, it added $5 billion to the U.S. economy alone. And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis found himself locked in a battle against Disney. DeSantis had threatened to take away the House of Mouse's ability to self-govern on its 25,000 acres in Florida.
We want to make sure that Disney lives under the same laws as everybody else.
Disney alleged that DeSantis was targeting them because of their objections to DeSantis' controversial so-called "Don't Say Gay" policies.
Say gay! Protect gay youth!
Tech CEOs continued to reshape the U.S. economy, perhaps none more than Elon Musk. Musk continued to find himself in the headlines as his SpaceX Starship had both successful and failed launches. Lawmakers put TikTok CEO Xiaozi in the political hot seat during a hearing about the China-based company. More than a dozen countries worldwide have banned or put restrictions against the company that's owned by Beijing-based ByteDance, citing national security concerns. Viral sympathy for 9/11 terrorist Osama bin Laden further added to the policymakers' scrutiny of the platform. Musk's power extended from social media to outer space, and also in Ukraine, where his Starlink internet server was revealed to be both a key asset and a hindrance to Ukraine's defense against Russia. And Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer vowed to work with both parties to create a framework for artificial intelligence, which Schumer said could revolutionize the economy at a rate not seen since the advent of the World Wide Web. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman was abruptly fired from his gig but reinstated just days later, further underscoring the turbulence in the AI field.
He's back in charge, and I think most people feel that's a good thing because he's such, we want to stay in the lead on AI. OpenAI has been leading the charge. There are other good companies, big and small, but I think there's a sigh of relief in the industry and probably in the country that Sam is back there.
The year was marked by organized labor fighting for better wages and working conditions. In November, Hollywood returned to work after the writers and SAG-AFTRA workers went on strike that lasted 4 months.
Union! Union!
And the year was marked by organized labor battling for better wages. SAG-AFTRA cited artificial intelligence as a key sticking point in their Hollywood strike, which would ultimately get resolved. UPS workers, Teamsters, and UAW also all negotiated for better wages and working conditions. The battles grew so contentious that Senator Bernie Sanders had to break up a fight that could have gotten physical between the Teamsters boss, Sean O'Brien, and Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, a Republican.
You want to say that you're trying to provide because you're forcing them to pay dues?
No, we don't force
them.
Senator, you've asked the question. You're out of line. Let him answer the question.
And don't tell me I'm out of line.
You are in line.